For more now, we turn to national security correspondent for the New York Times, David Sanger. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Mr. Trump is going to be getting his briefing today, the same briefing that President Obama got. Do you think the intel community will have the type of evidence he needs to sway him?
Well, they may have the type of evidence he needs. That's a separate question from whether or not they will sway him. And I could imagine a situation in which they swayed him on the facts that the Russians were in the system, that they had gone to the DNC, that they had gone into John Podesta's email, and not sway him on their conclusion, their analytic conclusion, which was that the motive of this was to swing the election his way, or at least away from Hillary Clinton. And, you know, that would not be unprecedented for presidents who have accepted a fact base but have a different interpretation of motive.
Yeah, and one would understand why. Maybe he wouldn't want to accept that motive. But, you know, he has been dismissing the claims that the intelligence community has the evidence to prove that there was a real connection. In fact, yesterday during the Armed Services Committee hearing, that's something that came up, the fact that he's been skeptical and the sort of impact that may be having on his relationship with members of the intel community. And I think, you know, Admiral Rogers said that one of his concerns was that he may lose good, motivated people because their actions are being questioned. Is that a legitimate concern? And what does Donald Trump have to do to remedy that?
Well, I think the big concern is not merely that the conclusions have been dismissed. I think it's that he has questioned their judgment, their integrity. Their integrity by saying that they have become too political, their judgment by constantly going back to the mistakes of WMD in Iraq, which was a huge mistake and one of 20 that you and I could discuss here that they have made, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong in this particular case. Admiral Rogers, who runs the NSA and U.S. Cyber Command, has an additional problem here. And the additional problem is that he is competing for the best cyber talent in the country with all of Silicon Valley.
Right.
And he doesn't have very good stock options to put out there.
He mentioned that
right.
they can acquire, but they cannot retain this great talent.
That's right. So the only thing he has to sell is the mission itself, that you can do things for your country at the NSA and engage in activities that might be illegal under other circumstances. That's
alluring.
Right, that you cannot do in the private sector.
Yeah. And
so if people begin to think, yes, but the president doesn't have confidence in what we're doing, that might tilt the calculation for them.
And, you know, some of the ways in which Donald Trump has questioned what's been happening with intelligence is by tweeting. That's how we know how he thinks. And he sent out a tweet a couple days ago, I think, and maybe we can pop that up, talking about, you know, how the FBI got their information. And there it is right there. The Democratic National Committee would not allow the FBI to study or see its computer info after it was supposedly hacked by Russia. So part of his argument is, how does the FBI, you know, get their information when they didn't even really get a chance to look at the server? You and a couple of your colleagues did a great article taking a look at how Russia was able to hack into the DNC. And one of the things that you found was that there was a series of missed signals, I'm quoting you now, slow responses, and an underestimation of the seriousness of the cyber attack.
That's right. The FBI first came to the DNC, to a young cybersecurity expert. He didn't really believe it was an FBI special agent.
Right, they thought it might have been a crank call or something.
Right, the FBI never walked up to the DNC headquarters. They're about a 14-minute walk apart. And so they had a series of missed signals for nearly 9 months. Now, that said, the FBI probably should have looked at the servers themselves, but they were examined very thoroughly by a company called CrowdStrike, run by a bunch of former FBI cyber experts who extracted the code that they found on it and published it, and also provided their full reports to the FBI. Now, one way that you look at where a code would come from would be looking on the server.
Right.
The other way would be looking in Russia. And that's probably where most of the most interesting intel came from.
Hopefully we will be hearing about that soon, right?
I hope so.
David Sanger, thank you very much.
Thank you. Great to be with you.